Vasishta continued, there are two types of questioners, the enlightened and the ignorant. One should answer the ignorant from the point of view of the ignorant, and the wise from the point of view of wisdom. One wonders why the enlightened would be asking questions in the first place. We have to understand that enlightened here then is those that have touched enlightened and are not yet established in it. And the ignorant will be those who are wanting some kind of intellectual understanding. This isn't necessarily a bad thing in itself. If you're an intellectual type of person, then there are some questions which demand to be answered. If they're not answered, then it's difficult to put them aside. The best way to deal with some questions is to answer them, to get an answer. And that's one way of resolving them. Ideally, you should just drop the question, because this can just reinforce the process of developing more questions to put in the way. So it's quite important sometimes to try and answer questions on their own level. But really, the answer to a question should really turn the questioner back on themselves. It should turn them to self-enquiry. Otherwise it just becomes an intellectual exercise. Till now you were ignorant, and hence you deserved only intellectual answers. Now you know the truth, and you rest in the supreme state. Hence intellectual and logical answers will no longer do for you. The intellectual sort of person is looking for some kind of coherent or consistent system of ideas. That's indicative of a particular emotional attitude, wanting to get things sorted, nice and tidy, wanting to tidy things up. And we need to do that on particular levels. So for example, on a social level, we can have a belief or a rule that we shouldn't do to others what we wouldn't want done to ourselves. This is the golden rule. So that's nice and simple. It's very difficult to argue with the good sense of that. It's an excellent rule. And it gives us something to base our behaviour and interaction with others on. We treat others how we'd expect to be treated ourselves. When it comes to technology, there's a set of understandings by which technology works and by which new technologies can be developed. So that works on that particular level. But spiritually, there's no golden rule. The closest perhaps to it is to keep on doubting, to be sceptical, to not take any belief on board. But then you have to look into the emotional attitudes behind that skepticism, and look at the skepticism itself. What's behind it? This is inquiry. You keep looking. So any words, any intellectual answers should preferably be dropped. If you're looking for intellectual answers, then inquire into why you're looking for intellectual answers. What is the emotional impetus behind that need for intellectual answers, for intellectual understanding? We have this drive for understanding, and I'll talk about this later, probably later in this chapter. This drive to understanding needs to be looked at as well. What is the emotional impetus behind the need for understanding? Oram, All verbal statements, whether they are verbose or brief, whether their purport is subtle or transcendental, are all limited by logic, by duality and division. You should always take them with a pinch of salt, basically. Such tainted answers are not worthy of you, my dear one, and words are incapable of forming a pure and untainted statement. To one such as you, one should transmit the purest truth, and the purest truth is expressed only by complete silence. That silence which is free from rational inquiry and mental activity is the supreme state. Hence, that alone was the appropriate answer to a question by a wise one like you. We're getting into some Zen territory here. Silence is always the best answer, which is quite funny really when you think of how many words are involved here. But these words are always pointing to silence. Well, ideally they're pointing to silence. If they're not pointing to silence, then reject them. Reject them. Silence has its own kind of communication, its own kind of interaction. But that usually comes after there's been a lot of words. At some point maybe I will sit here in silence. I'll have a video of silence maybe. But you can get silence just by clicking the pause or the stop button. In the meantime, along with the Yoga Vasishta, I shall continue. Again, all expression is the expression of the nature of one who expresses it. I am firmly established in the pure, non-dual and indivisible consciousness which is the supreme state. How can I subject myself to the imperfection of expressing the inexpressible? Hence I did not attempt to reduce the infinite to words which spring from such mental activity.